I don't need a job because I am a job. I have all of the tools and the connections and the knowledge that I need. I have the power to acquire the knowledge that I need to get the job that I want to get. And it'll not just be a job where I'm just working to work or getting money just to get money, but like an actual dream position. I'm working with actual dream people that I want to partner with, that I want to help. I won't have to shapeshift to make it happen. It's taken me a long time to get there. I honestly started off with a podcast, and with the podcast, I got a little groove, you know what I'm saying? But the groove even has taken shifts. The first groove, I am just doing 2 episodes a month. That's all I can give you, a 1 and a 2, and that's it. And it didn't require extra on my ends. I could just do it, and that's what it was. Eventually, I started to figure out, okay, I'm gonna do this before work. I'll do it when my roommate is gone. I'll do it at whatever time, and that was cool. Then the shift happened, which was me losing my job. And so after I'm like figuring out the Instagram, or I'm figuring out this, I'm figuring out that, now there's another thing that I have to consider. I honestly wasn't prepared for it. Who's prepared to lose their job? I think as I was going through that shift, there were some things that I was thinking of. There were habits that I had, to be honest, that still had me not as a job. It was like, I need this stamp of approval, this seal from other people, from outside resources, from a reputable company, right? I wanted to work in tech for a little second, and not just any tech. Like, I really love Twitter down. Like, I wanted to work at Twitter so bad. And then I'm like, okay, well, I like podcasts. Maybe I could work at Spotify, right? And so I was looking at these places that fit my interests and where I thought that I could be of service, but it was a job. It was gonna be a job at the end of the day. I wasn't gonna be able to likely talk about my faith in a big thing, and I actually tried that. I was trying to think about jobs where they had a division in Twitter, and I believe Spotify too has this, where they have groups within the organization that highlight faith. They'll have different things for employees that are Muslim, like, you know, XYZ. And so I was like, okay, I'll be on the faith. There's like a faith at Twitter team. It used to be. So there was a faith at Twitter team. I was like, yep, I'm going to have my job, and then I'm going to volunteer to be on the faith at Twitter team. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, right? And so I was trying to figure out, how can I be me but at a job? It took a lot from God to be like, that's not the season that we're in right now. And if I can be honest, I was like, why not? Like, why aren't we in that season? Because that's what I set out to do, is that I'm gonna be working for somebody and they're gonna pay me, okay? Entrepreneurship just wasn't it, and I think it wasn't it for a lot of reasons. And actually, I just watched a video by Bria, I'll link it, and she was kind of talking about why we have these mental blocks and things that kind of stop us from going for the things that we want. I think for me, I didn't see that I would be able to sustain a job. Like, what are you talking about, right? Like, me starting something and not only keeping it up on like the creative side, having the vision, and then doing it, executing the vision, partnering with people, explaining it to them getting it, all of that, but also doing so in a way where I could actually make money. What are you talking about? Like, I was like, there's no way that I'll be able to do that. Deep down, I actually have a desire to do that, right? I have a desire that by me just being me, that I can get a check, okay? That just by me being me, I can impact people. By me being me, I will go somewhere and be somewhere so intentional that I'll be able to find my people while I'm there. I won't have to do extra stuff to find them. And in doing that, I'll be able to get the things that I need to sustain the life that I want to have, but then also be able to impact them. And I didn't think that that was possible. I was like, oh, I need connections. I need systems in place that somebody else has put in the work to do. So why would I set out and do it myself? Like, it just sounded counterproductive and didn't make any sense. And I just didn't have the desire to start my own thing in that way. What happened in the shift is God just pulling out different things in me to be like, yeah, but I called you a speaker, so I need you to speak. Call you a writer, and so you must write. Like, there are these things, and I attached those qualities about myself to the titles that I held. And so I'm like, oh, I could write a mean email, period, like, right? And so I'm like, I am a writer, yes, and I write poems and I do the things, but I am a writer right now specifically for this company. Like, this is, you know what I'm saying, like how it kind of comes out. Same thing with me speaking. I'm like, okay, I need to think about how I can speak in this meeting, or how I can make sure this idea comes across, or whatever. It didn't cross my mind at this stage of my life that I could moderate a panel, or that I could MC a award show that I just did, or things like that. Being on YouTube, I was like, I'm good on YouTube. There are girls that do that. They do it well. They enjoy doing it. And that's not what I do. That's not where I'm at. And so that's not where I'm at. There was a lot in the shift, and the shift doesn't have to be you losing your job. It could be you at dinner and your friend says something that you never thought of before, or you being inspired by something you see on Instagram. But the shift is specific, and it'll make you feel like there's more, that there are bigger possibilities than the possibilities that I thought of before the shift happened. And that what was starting to happen for me is, okay, well, I had writing workshops during the pandemic. Like, what if you charge for the writing workshops and you continue to bring people together to write and to express their thoughts in themselves? What if you continue to XYZ, right? And within the shift, it feels good for a second, you're inspired for a second, but then you also start to be very intimidated. And that was me. I was like, okay, what are people gonna think? What do I charge? What's the right price for those type of things? Okay, if I'm uploading on YouTube, how often do I do that? Where does the podcast come into play? All of these things that you start to think about in the shift. And it's because a shift is happening. What you really need, which comes after the shift, is mindset change. The mindset change only can start after the shift has taken place, where something happens in your mind that says more is possible. And not only is more possible, but I am capable of the more that is to come. And so when that happens, you usually can feel some tension and you don't feel totally aligned with that thought all the way, and not all day, every day. At least that's the case for me. Some days I'm like, I got this and I can do this. I can impact people. I can say something and they'll feel it. And there are other days when I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Like, for real. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, God, what are you doing? Like, for real. Because I had a way that things were done and I had a groove. And that's the detriment to the shift taking place successfully, so you get to the new mindset, is being too attached to the groove that you had, to the flow that you had, to the rhythm that you have. We can do that even in our relationship with God. There's a flow and a rhythm, and we wake up at this time, we go to the gym, we pray, we hang out with these people, we do that thing. There's a groove that we have. And when God wants to change the flow, switch up the thing that you do, who you are, he wants to call you a new name. If we get too attached to where we were before, too attached to the groove, we can forfeit the new mindset. We can forfeit the new opportunities that are to come, because that's the next thing, right? So you get the new mindset and then you start doing new things. And as you start doing new things, you talk to new people, you go new places, you wear new stuff. Next thing you know, there are new opportunities, and they're only to come because you are now the you that you are, that you couldn't have been before the shift. And that's why the shift is so pivotal and so key for us to not only feel and heed, but actually ride out. That's the new groove. Is something shifted, something's changed, and I want to lean into it, versus allowing my fears to let me lean out. In me kind of going through that flow, when it happens over and over, there'll be times when I get a new groove and then the shift to happen again. I'll get a new idea again. There'll be new possibilities again. Then I have to adopt new mindsets all over. But that is to lead me to new opportunities, which is what I'm praying to God for. It's what I'm talking to my friends about. It's what I journal at night. If that's the case, then I constantly need shifts. And each new shift unlocks a new piece of your journey that you wouldn't have been able to travel before. What I'm discovering in that is that I truly don't want a job because I am a job. I don't want a job because I have my job description from God. I actually had a moment, oh my gosh, I had a moment last night coming back from this event where I was talking to some creative people. I was inspired by what they were doing. I felt inspired about what I plan to do, right? And so in doing that, I came home and I wrote down the things, which I've written down the things multiple times, but they started to seem like they were competing with each other, and it was overwhelming me because I was like, this is supposed to be a new opportunity. It seems like a new challenge. It seems like a new problem that I'm gonna have. How do I do all of this and make it all make sense? And so as I wrote it down, I just felt like God was guiding me. I'm like, well, this is doing this, and this does this, and this piece does that, right? So the podcast is doing something different than what the YouTube channel does. And when you post on Instagram, that's different than what you do on YouTube, right? So all these things. But then when you go somewhere in real life, that's doing something else than when you're on social media. I had to like write it down to get it, because in my head, a shift was trying to take place and I was bucking at it. And so we're just doing like this, and you feel movement, right? You feel that something's happening, but you're not going forward. You're just teeter-tottering back and forth. Well, I think this is it, but it might not be it. I think I heard God, but I didn't hear God. I think this is who I'm supposed to be now, but this is who I used to be, right? And so that's kind of what we do. But when we're able to steady ourselves for a moment, write things down, talk to somebody that we trust, have just time in the word, prayer, XYZ, then you're able to actually make sense of the shift, right? Because again, it's going against the groove that you've set. And so it's natural to be like, what do I do right now? What's happening? But it really helps you to kind of mind map in real life versus in your head what's to come, like what's next. And you feel guided, because some things that'll come out when you do that they won't feel like they're from you. And it's because God is guiding you on the steps to take. Everybody might not be looking to start a new thing on their content creation journey or start a business or what have you. But I do think there are things in our head, even when you're looking for a new job, where you're like, okay, I am a job, not me looking for a job, right? It's not the LinkedIn description that I need to find that fits me. I am me. And the LinkedIn description needs to align with what I have going on. Typically, even when you're looking for a new position and you are trying to work for somebody else, or you're doing a new thing for yourself, if you have a 9 to 5 and you're doing something on the side, when you feel a shift and you're like, ooh, this is happening, you need that time for pause to really decipher what the shift is. We can misdiagnose what's happening, and a lot of times we do it out of fear, out of panic, out of deciding a timing when God has a total other timing that he's working on. He's like, oh, you off. You off, sis. Like, slow up, slow down, it's good. And you're like, I need to figure this out right now. And so because you're trying to hurry up and move, you think one thing, and God's like, if you would have waited, it was actually something else. And then there are other times when we know. You might be like me. If you're like me, tap in. This is for you. There are times when we know. You know the shift has happened. You knew the groove that you had. You actually didn't like the groove, right? You didn't want a job. Then the shift happened, and the shift might have devastated you. It might have rocked your boat, because you're like, I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't planning for this. I was unprepared for this, seemingly. But the shift has happened, and it's happened because you were supposed to be there. The shift happened because there's somebody that you're supposed to touch with your story. The shift happened because you are at that place with God that you've been waiting to get to. You're there, and he's like, all right, it's game time. It's time to go. Like, let's hit it. The shift happened because new opportunities are on the way. There's a verse in Isaiah that says, I'm doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? And when we take that time to sit and see what God's doing, we're able to perceive the new thing that he's doing. And that is what enables us to be able to adapt the new mindset that we need to be able to walk into the new opportunities that he set before us. I just want to encourage you that if you don't want a job right now, and that seems like it's ungrateful because everybody's searching for a job, or if your people don't get it, or whatever it is, that's because there was a groove, there was a flow, and you're feeling the tension that you feel now because a shift has occurred. And the shift has occurred not to make you look crazy, not because God's just playing with you, but it's because there are new opportunities that he has for you. There's a new closeness with him, a new closeness with your community, and there is a new piece of your purpose that has been unlocked, and he is allowing you to walk in it now. And if not now, very soon. Be sure that you're just allowing yourself to experience God's grace in this time, but then also having grace for yourself as you navigate the shift. I ain't posted a video in over a week and I was like, okay, you need to get it together. Like, you know what I'm saying? You need to figure it out. I'm having to be reminded that there is a shift that's taking place. And so while I am figuring out where I am in this moment, the groove is off, okay? It can't be more off sometimes than it feels like it's off right now. And that's because it ain't the groove that I had before. And that's okay. It's not a crime. It doesn't mean that it doesn't always have to be that you're disobedient. I think sometimes and there are times when I have been, please note, but I think there are also times where flow is off. And God knows that because he changed the tempo. He's the one who said, let's do something different. I want you to have grace. If you can relate to what I'm talking about right now, then things are off. And that's okay, because they're supposed to be off because you're going on to something else. Take the time that you need to recalibrate, to recoup, to mind map, to lay it out. But take the steps too, to address it here before you start doing things here, because when you adjust it in your mind, make it that much easier to do things IRL. So I love you guys. I hope that this has been helpful. We in this thing together, okay? Because like I continue to say, I really have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just trying to figure it out piece by piece, moment by moment. I appreciate y'all for rocking with the kid. As always, you can keep up with me on all the things. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the Prose and Praise Pages newsletter. It is my weekly newsletter with all little tidbits, devotionals, and you can keep up with the merch launch that's gonna be happening very soon. Remember to profess your power, and there's power in prose. Bye.